Howdy, I'm John, and I decided I'd show you how I went and tucked some chicken manure around my plants. And I know this is good stuff because look what it did to my nettle tea. I put it in one day, checked the biological activity, and you can see a tea already had a good amount going because of the bubbles there. But the very next day, whoa, my gosh, look at that. You can tell this here stuff's really biologically active. So I went ahead and decided I'd tuck it in under strawberry plants and some of the trees. But John, you may say, what does it mean to tuck manure around under your plants? Well, normally I'd be using two hands, not filming with one and tucking in with the other. Normally I'd use one hand to kind of push those leaves back and kind of tuck that stuff and spread it around on the ground under the leaves. And then you let go of the leaves and the kind of plant sprawls over that, and you got the biological activity and everything like that right in the root area. And you don't want to get this on the leaves. And that's part of the reason you gotta really water this in after you put it on. Now, I picked this GMB Organics because I've been pretty happy with the items I've seen from them before. I've never bought manure in a bag before. I usually go to a stable or something and get my own and then make my own compost. But this is very darn convenient, and I was super impressed with the quality. Anytime you're fiddling around in the garden, it's always a good idea to do any weeding of any weeds that you see. If you keep a mulch on all the time, you're going to have a lot less weeding work. Take off runners as you see them on strawberry plants unless you're actively trying to promote new plants. And what this does is it gives a boost of biological fertility to the soil. It lets just explode in growth. And the biology of this will improve the entire soil structure. You find nothing but good stuff from this as long as you water it in really well and don't get it on the leaves. And you don't put it on plants at every stage of growth and not every single plant. For instance, carrots don't like stuff like this. And this is for items that you're wanting fresh, green, vigorous, vegetative growth. These strawberries, for instance, I want them to grow into giant monster plants by next year so that they can have big, giant, luscious berries and they can put out a huge production because they'll be giant plants. Well, I've got to spend this year getting them in that kind of condition. And that's why a nitrate fertilizer like this is good for them. It'll really get them growing with a lot of fresh leaves. Now, once these are growing next summer with fresh strawberries, I probably won't want to be putting this on. I might put some on early in the spring just to get them going for the springtime. But once you start to see those berries, you want to slow down on those nitrate fertilizers. Put a little bit in this pot full of rice. Put a little bit around this cherry tree. Not a lot for something like this because it's a little late in the season to be encouraging a lot of fresh new growth. We just want to keep these plants fertile and the soil biological activity high. The idea with this is not so much to give a lot of nitrogen, it's to increase the biological fecundity of the soil. Now, after applying this onto the soil, you've got to water it in. The biological activity will die if it's left on the surface exposed to the sun. What you need to do is cover it with mulch right away if you are in that situation where it would work good on the soil. Failing that, you need to water it in fully. And even if you cover it with the mulch, it should still be getting a good heavy water. Now what we want to do here is two things. We've got to water it into the straw and get it down into that soil mulch interaction area and that first few inches of soil that's called the rhizosphere, which means the root zone area, which can extend quite a bit further, but that first 3, 4, 5 inches is the most important as far as the biological activity. That's where the little bacteria are growing like crazy, and they're going to be getting all of this new population of new bacteria coming in. Some of them may be more fit in this soil and may very quickly turn into the dominant species. Or maybe they'll fight it out for a while. Usually in a war, nobody wins. But in the case of the trillions of little dead bacteria bodies that are going to be left decaying in this soil, providing food for the plants, well, the plants win. So that's the whole idea behind this manuring. And you could apply it before you plant something and mix it into the soil. And if you put it onto the soil as a top dressing or tucking in under the plants as a top dressing, water this in thoroughly. You need to get that water in 3, 4, 5 inches deep. That's going to take a couple inches of application of water. Water this well. Get those nitrates that are water soluble, carry them down. And here we can see some leaves, the only leaves that got burnt. And they were at that far corner where the hose didn't reach them well, and it didn't wash the manure off. So that shows what happens if you don't do a proper washing, getting those leaves free of any manure. You don't want this stuff killing your plants. And we could call it hot also. It's not hot like a hot compost biologically. It's active and rich biologically, but it is a little bit hot as far as really richness of material, and I'd say that leans a lot toward the nitrates. But look how the plants 3 days later have lifted their leaves up. They are loving this. They're just full of so much more strength now. And when plants are lifting their leaves and their stalks, it means they're happy. Well, folks, thank you much for watching. Have yourself a good day. Have a great garden.